Can you take that growth and step into the spotlight and take up more space and be unapologetic? This is Tracy with Tracy Talks. Welcome. Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system, is moving into Leo on June 30th. Jupiter often represents optimism and expansion. And when Jupiter contacts and makes contacts with one of our planets in our chart, it can often highlight that part of our life, bring more awareness to it. Jupiter has this 12-year cycle, so roughly every 12 years, it will come back to a point in your chart. And it spends about a year in each sign. So this last year, Jupiter has been in the sign of Cancer. Cancer represents home and protection and comfort and ease, and that shows up in many different ways. But on June 30th, Jupiter's going to move into Leo. And Leo is this expressive, outgoing, assertive sign that likes to be in the spotlight. It likes to be the star of the show. And when Jupiter goes into Leo, we are going to want to take up more space in our life. And it's going to be kind of opposite of what has just been happening, because Jupiter's been in Cancer, which is more of this internalizing and coming back to self. And what does that mean? And when Jupiter then transitions to Leo, it's like, here I am. Look at me. And it's almost as if we have been in this transformation of coming back to self, recentering and grounding, and being in this space where we have been nurturing ourselves. And sometimes people perceive leaders as people who easily step onto the stage and show up in ways, and we just automatically sometimes assume that it's easy for them. But oftentimes there's this preparation of coming back to ourselves, of taking moments to center and ground, and what am I here to do? Who am I? What am I ready to say? And then when the energy goes into Leo, it's ready to be in the spotlight. And when I look at my own history about my expression, I was raised in a family who there was a lot of reinforcement about shrinking myself. And as women, we sometimes get that messaging. We're encouraged not to speak up. We're encouraged not to be assertive. We're encouraged to follow along and be quiet and demure and just go with the flow. And this is a time where we have energy to support us. And how can we take up more space in the world? How can we find the courage to speak our truth? How can we find the courage to express ourselves, to be in the spotlight and hold the space without trying to shrink ourselves back down? And even I get stuck in this transformative mentality where that there's this evolution of the soul and there's this constant changing and encouragement for growth and encouragement to be something different. But maybe this is just a time to stop this trying to change, trying to be a better version, trying to be somebody else's version. I mean, how many of us are doing that? I'm doing that at times. I slip back into this old patterning where I have to consciously be aware of the tapes and the words that are running through my head. And are they mine or are they somebody else's? And I find it difficult to step into the spotlight because so much of my foundations was just quiet down a little bit. When I was a child, we didn't have a lot of music in the house. And if we did have music, it was typically that old twangy country and western, which was depressing as a child for me. Or on Sundays, Mom would have gospel. I don't know if any of you know or have heard of the Statler Brothers, but not necessarily music that you can kind of move to and jam to and, have fun and feel good. We always went to the store weekly to get groceries. It was like the big event when we were children to get out and just have, like out in public. It was a huge deal back then. And in the grocery store, there was typically loud music and it was rock. And I was known for just dancing down the aisles. I wasn't hurting anybody. I wasn't running anybody over. I wasn't doing anything to anybody else, but I was expressing myself in a very natural way. And this was always something that irritated my family. Stop it. Stop dancing in the aisles. And they would laugh at me and they would make fun of me. And I just have this collection of stories where it was reinforced to me that I needed to shrink myself. And it has taken steps of growth and commitment to continue to put myself out there, to try to silence this internal voice inside of me that says, I shouldn't be visible, I shouldn't speak my truth, I shouldn't be in front of, I shouldn't put myself out there. There are days where this is extremely difficult. And depending on where Leo is in your chart, that is going to be the house that's highlighted. And what does that mean? Sometimes that means that if you have Leo in the 4th house, that there could be some changes in your home. If you have it in the 7th house, it could be changes in your relationships. And it's going to highlight that area of your life. And if you don't know where Leo is in your chart, the last time Jupiter was in Leo was from July of 2014 to August of 2015. It may be worth a little bit of time to reflect on that period. Were there significant changes? Did you move? Did you start a new relationship? Did something happen in your career? Is there some area of your life that you can remember something happening? Was there just more visibility? Did you have a child? Did you travel abroad? And maybe this next Jupiter cycle will be a continuation of that story. And that's one way of understanding the cycles of our lives and seeing if you can reflect on similarities. And sometimes I get frustrated with listening to astrologers and this enormous amount of optimism that is associated with Jupiter, that this is this benevolent planet that grants wishes and makes dreams come true. And when I've personally looked at Jupiter in people's charts and when it makes contact and those kind of things, oftentimes they're significant events that happen. They don't always seem like a good thing in when it happens. But as life continues on, that sometimes those challenges that we go through often put us on a truer path or back on the course that we're meant to be on. I'm a Leo rising, so Jupiter will be transiting through my 1st house, which is the house of self. And again, if I listen to the astrologers, the first thing that they say is, oh, you could put on weight because your physical body is expanding. And I get frustrated sometimes, and I need to stop listening to some of these astrologers because there is more nuance. That everybody that has a Jupiter transit, it doesn't mean that we're just going to put on weight and it's going to be that simple. And when I look back to the last time that Jupiter transited Leo, it was a time when I had a lot of growth personally and professionally of how I show up in the world. And during this period, I wrote a course that was certified as a continuing education credit through the American Holistic Nurses Association. And it was certified in February of 2015. So kind of in that middle point of that cycle. And this was a huge accomplishment for me. It was a culmination of many different things coming together and kind of just perfectly aligned in ways that I really couldn't have ever planned. And so it wasn't this, a lot of astrologers would probably attribute that type of expansion to my career sector. And it didn't happen in my career sector. It happened in the sector of self. And it was a cementing of me and my expression and who I am at my core. As you reflect back on that period, can you look at the period from 2014 to 2015 to now and map out that growth and expansion since then? Was a seed planted in 2014, and is it now coming to fruition? Are you now having a realization? And can you take that growth and step into the spotlight and take up more space and be unapologetic about what you have to say, who you are, and what you need and what you stand for? And that's another thing about being willing to take up more space. So many times I feel it, I see it in other women. We're apologetic for wanting the things that we want, saying our truth. A lot of times we'll say our truth and then we'll apologize for being honest. And how can we take up more space for this next year, be unapologetic about what it is we want, hold our heads high, and let the world see us for who we are? Thank you for listening to this episode of Tracy Talks. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. Friends can find Tracy Talks available on iTunes, Spotify, Substack, and YouTube. Hit me up on Instagram and Facebook at More Tracy Talks. And until next time, we meet again.